Yeah. Well, I get what Cory Booker and many of the other Democratic presidential candidates are saying, but I also hear what Joe Biden is saying. What Joe Biden is trying to say is he had to work with these people to get things through. But, at that time, I remember people screaming about David Duke being on the Hill. I remember hearing names, Jesse Helms. I remember Strom Thurmond, and Robert Byrd. We heard a lot of names that a lot of these Democrats had to work with, and some of them were Democrats. And they had to work with them to get things passed. But for today, we are a very divided nation, and it's one side or the other. And he was talking about a time when he had to work with these people. But the problem for Joe Biden is right now is that these young people, these young people who were Obama young people who helped Obama become president of the United States, they look at this as Joe Biden basically giving adoration to these people when he's not. But we're in a different era, and for him, the question is, how do you bridge this gap, or do you apologize, because this is a big chasm right now that he's created.
So, Joan, let me ask you to this point, though. A senior advisor to Biden's campaign, Simone Sanders, today tweeted, trying to explain this. Joe Biden did not praise a segregationist. That is a disingenuous take. He basically said sometimes in Congress want us to work with terrible or downright racist folks to get things done. Does that argument hold water? Does that add up to you?
No, I'm sorry. I love Simone, but it doesn't. I think the other thing that really hurt a lot of people is that he made, I guess it was a joke. I mean, we don't have tape, so we don't exactly know how it was said, but we trust the New York Times reporting, and he made a joke that, well, Eastland never called me boy, he only called me son. That's unacceptable. It's not funny. We know why he didn't call him boy. It was a word that he used for black people. And I almost feel like segregationist is a euphemism. These men were racist. They were deeply racist. And I really appreciate that April is being so kind and so big-hearted and open-minded about this. And I will try to follow her on this. But I also have to say, a lot of people are hearing this more and more as undermining Barack Obama. That Joe Biden's, the most important thing about Joe Biden right now is that his standing with black voters. And when he talks again and again as though he could work with segregationists and he can work with Mitch McConnell and he can work with, even the modern Republican Party, what he's saying is, or he's raising a question about why Barack Obama couldn't. And I don't think he wants to be going there.
I mean, April, here's a question about, some of this, right? I mean, it doesn't come in a vacuum, right? I mean, there are, by the way, members of the Congressional Black Caucus who are defending Biden's record on race relations, Congresswoman Val Demings, Sheila Jackson Lee among them. But there are many voters of different color who have concerns about Biden because of his 1994 crime bill stance, but also because of comments he has made, which is why it's hard to put this in a vacuum, comments like these.
In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking. I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man. Yeah.
He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
April, does that contextualize what he is saying now in a more disturbing light or not?
Well, I remember when he made those comments about Barack Obama, talking about how clean he was. Yeah. But at that time, Barack Obama had to come out and save Joe Biden, with those comments. Remember that? They're inartful, they're insensitive. He is from another time. For some, those could be Archie Bunker words, but he is from another time. But at the same time, he's trying to say, look at his heart and look at who he is. But this is the problem that he has. He is from an era, a bygone era, a time we want to forget. And he said those things with this saying that he's got this heart. You got to stop it. You got to stop it because we are now in the midst of a great divide as America is going to be great again. So he's got to fix his speak. And that's one of the reasons why he didn't do a lot of interviews when he was in the White House, because they were afraid of his openness, his candor. Joe Biden is very different.